Hi, my name is Sarah Kindersma. I'm the Muscle Activation Technique Specialist here at Active Sports Therapy, and I'm the one that puts on the movement mobility classes on Wednesdays. The focus of the class is really geared to whatever you want. All you have to do is just send me an email with what you'd like us to focus on every week. I try to hit most joints that are affected, especially when you're sitting all day. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the class. Please give me feedback afterwards on how I could improve it or cater it more towards what your goals and needs are. Enjoy the class. So we're going to start here seated, and we're going to do a cat-cow. So you're going to push your back towards your seat, and you can use your arms underneath your leg to create that, and then sit up and arch your back. Go back and forth here between 3 to 5 times. Next, we're going to create a side bend. So your arms are up by your ears, and we're going to pinch the rib towards the rib cage. Now you can keep your hands where it is, or if you want an added stretch, extend that top arm over. Make sure that the weight is even on both butt cheeks so you're not tipping over to the side. We're going to perform this 3 to 5 times per side, feeling a nice stretch. Next, we're going to create spinal rotation, twisting to the side, using your arms for assistance to create a little bit more of a twist. Be mindful that the knees don't move here. If the knees are moving, that means that the pelvis is coming with this rotation and we're not separating that movement. You can go slow or fast here, whatever feels good in the back. Now we're going to do a combination of all 3 motions together. So first, the cat-cow motion, straight into 2 side bends, 1 each way. And then we're finishing up with that trunk rotation, twisting back. Starting from the start, doing a cat-cow, really rounding those shoulders, and then looking up towards that ceiling to create that arch into the back, and then creating side bend from side to side. Creating that rotation, making sure that the knees are staying in place, and that the only thing that's moving is your spine. Move through these combination of movements at your own pace. If you find something that feels sticky, just stay there. We're going to go through this rotation one more time, creating those cat-cows, then side bend, and then into that rotation. Next, you're going to tuck your chin down, roll down towards the ground, and then we're going to create a spinal twist down here, keeping one arm down, reaching up, making sure your eyes go up with that hand that goes up towards the ceiling so that you stare at that middle finger. If this is too much, you can always back it off and just create a higher twist. Or if you need more of a twist, grab onto that opposite ankle before twisting upwards. Again, going at your own pace. Sometimes it feels nice to go slow or speeding it up, making it a little bit more dynamic. It's good to tune in to see if one side feels harder to do than the other. Now we're going to sit back up. We're going to cross one leg over the other. Nice straight spine here. You're going to push that top knee down towards the ground, and then you're going to lean forward without rounding the spine. Nice deep breaths here. You're going to feel a big stretch into that glute. Come back out of that stretch and see if you can sink in deeper. I like to wiggle my leg here just to loosen up that tension. I find I can get into a deeper stretch that way. We're switching sides, repeating the exact same thing, pushing down on that knee and hip hinging forward. So your back should be completely flat as you lean forward. Again, I like to wiggle that leg. I find when I do that, it starts to ease off. Nice deep breaths here. Now we're going to move into the neck. You're going to tuck that chin down, starting with the right, bringing the chin down to the center of the chest and back to the left. You can go slow or fast with this motion, whatever feels good. Really tucking that chin down as you create that U shape. Next, we're going to rotate. So you're going to look over your shoulder. Be mindful here that your shoulders aren't moving, that the motion is only coming from your neck. You can make slow rotations or fast rotations, just depending on what feels good. If you want to add to this stretch, you can keep that rotation and then continue with the eyeballs. Adding the eyes just adds a little bit more of that fascial stretch. Next, we're going to do a side bend here so you can see I'm reaching down with my opposite arm and then bringing my ear down towards that shoulder, feeling a nice stretch into my neck. Again, you can go slow or fast here, whatever feels good for you. This is your movement practice. Next up, your hands are behind your head. You're going to pull it up towards the ceiling, tucking your chin down and gently assisting it down towards your chest. You may feel this stretch go all the way down towards your tailbone. You can hang out here in the entire time or move back and forth as I'm showing here. Next, we've got shoulder rolls. We're going to make great big circles with those shoulders. We're going to go 3 to the front and then 3 to the back. Exploring that range of motion, how big can you make those circles? We're going to repeat this, but now with your hands on top of your shoulders, really over-exaggerating those giant circles. 3 forward, 3 backwards. Now I'm going to get off my chair. You can stay on your chair for this exercise. But all we're going to do is windmill the arms like so, feeling a nice stretch into the shoulders. Again, going slow or going fast. We will hold this at the end. It's a great way to loosen up those shoulders. Now we're going to hang out on one side. If you can grab your fingers, great. If not, you're just going to hold that stretch. Try that on the other side now. You may notice that there's a difference. There's a difference on my body. A lot of people will be tighter on one side compared to the other. Switch back to that other side again. Holding that stretch. And switching sides. Next, you're going to stand on up. You're going to have one hand in front of you and the other one is going to lead a twist. Try to keep that front arm straight as that back arm opens up the chest to the back. It's okay that your hips come with you and you are going to twist at the ankles here. Again, you can make this motion slow or fast, depending on what you feel would suit you best for the day. Next, you're going to face your chair. You're going to step on it, make sure that it doesn't have wheels. Tuck your pelvis under and sink down. You should feel this stretch into your hip flexor. You're going to hold here for a few seconds before switching legs. Again, you can change your legs, going nice and fast through a dynamic motion, feeling that stretch for a few seconds and coming out of it, or you can hang out into that stretch for a little longer. I personally like hanging out here for about 3 to 5 seconds, feeling a nice stretch before switching legs. Next up, we've got the hamstrings. So your leg is up on your chair. You're going to hinge your hips forward, nice flat back. So don't round your spine in order to touch your toe, but rather you're trying to push your butt cheek backwards towards that back wall as you hinge forward. So don't do this. Don't round your spine. Nice flat back and hinge forward. Now again, you can stay down and hold that as a static stretch, or you can do what I'm doing where I'm kind of backing out and easing into that position, trying to get a little bit further, whatever feels best in that body. Next, you're going to turn sideways and bend down to feel a stretch in the inner part of your leg. Now, what I like to do here is I'll bend down and I'll kind of wiggle myself from side to side until I feel that stretch on that inner part of that thigh. Next, we're going to switch legs, going back to the hamstring, nice and tall, leaning forward, feeling a nice stretch into the back of the leg. Again, you can stay here for the entire time, just holding that, breathing into that stretch. Or if you want to make it a little bit more dynamic, you can ease yourself out of that stretch and see if you can get yourself to go down any further. Next up, we're going to go back into that adductor where the leg is up to the side, bending that leg, feeling a nice stretch in the inner part of that leg. Wiggling from side to side here, seeing if you can find the best stretch. Next, you're going to want something sturdy that you trust. So either your desk or your chair. You're going to go into a deep squat and rock from side to side. So here I'm demonstrating what that looks like, but make sure that you're holding on to something. When you hold on to something, your body allows that little bit of a deeper range, plus you can sink back into the hips, feeling a nice good stretch into your low back. Next up, your hands are going to go down towards the floor. You're going to lift your hips up towards the ceiling and then slowly round yourself up to a standing position. We're going to repeat this 3 times and then we're going to reverse the direction. So squat down, reach those hands down, hips to the ceiling, and then round that spine up. One more time here. Squatting down, leaving the arms where they are, lifting the hips up towards the ceiling, and rounding that spine to stand back up. Next, we're going to reverse that. So nice slow roll down to the bottom, go into your squat. Hands go over top of the head to create an overhead squat and reach for the ceiling. Hands go back down, go into that squat, hands overhead, and stand up towards the ceiling. Hands go back down, squat down, hands go overhead, and stand back up. We got one more here, so roll down towards the ground, go into that squat, reach for the ceiling before you stand on up. So next what we're going to do here is we're going to open up our hip. So you can see I'm trying to push my knee away. You want to repeat this from side to side. If this is too difficult into a squat, I will show you how to do that in your chair, but you may want to pause the video just so you can get a few reps in. But basically, if you're sitting in a chair and you walk your foot out to the side, you can create the same motion. You just want to feel a nice little stretch there into the hip. So continue doing this in the squatting variation if you can. Here's what it looks like seated, just in case you need that different variation. Make sure to repeat this between 3 to 5 times per side before carrying on. So for the next one here, we're getting into that IT band. You're going to cross one leg over the other. The back leg is being pushed on a 45-degree angle backwards, so towards that weight rack. You should feel a nice stretch into the side of the hip. Hang out here for 10 to 15 seconds before switching sides. We are going to repeat this twice. I always find the second time you get a little bit more out of that stretch. It's the same thing. Push that hip back on that 45, feeling a nice stretch. And then repeating on the opposite side. So next we're going to get into the hip. It's best if you're holding on to something for balance. You're going to lift your hip up towards your chest and then swing it out to the side. Then you're going to twist so that your foot goes up towards the ceiling. You want to repeat this in reverse and then repeat this 5 to 10 times per leg. We're going to repeat this on the opposite side. Again, it's best to hold on to something for balance here. Bring that knee up towards your chest, out to the side before creating that twist. Every motion should be separate, so it's not this fluid movement. We want 3 separate actions here so that we're moving the hip in very different ways. So whatever rep count you got on the opposite side, repeat that for the other leg. Next, we're just going to wiggle out the leg. So we've got this thigh bone here that creates that rotation into that hip socket. We just want to shake it out. Doesn't matter what level it's at. It's actually best if you move it around. Same thing, make sure you're holding on something for balance. I find when you're wiggling that leg around, sometimes it knocks you off. Just nice and loose and random. All right, lastly, we're going to focus on the fingers and the wrist. So your fingers are going to be tented, pressing it up against each other. Hold for a few seconds and then relax. You want to repeat this 5 times. Once you finish that, we're actually going to create stretching of the fingers. So one finger at the time, you're going to gently pull back towards the back of the hand. With the thumb, you actually want to pull it down sideways so that you feel a stretch into the webbing. Again, repeating this on the opposite side. Next, we're going to go into a prayer position. You're going to press the palms of your hands together and allow the elbows to come up towards the ceiling. Then the back of the hands go together, bringing the elbows down. Slowly sliding the wrists up towards your chin. We're going to repeat this again in the opposite direction, feeling a nice stretch into those forearms. And then reversing the direction again, elbows down. Next, you're going to hold on to your hand. You want to create 3 rotations at the wrist before switching directions, doing the same thing on the opposite side. And we're going to finish off here just shaking out the hands. Thank you so much for watching the Mobility at Your Desk class. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please send me an email with your feedback or suggestions for next week's workout. Have a lovely day, and I hope that you feel much better after taking a 20-minute movement break.